A major ruling coming from the nation's highest court, the Supreme Court on Thursday, largely siding with the Maryland man wrongly deported last month to a notorious prison in El Salvador. In the ruling, the High Court instructed the U.S. government needs to take steps to return the migrant to the United States. It's a decision that, though, has both the attorneys for the deported man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and also the Trump administration claiming victory over. So the justices did say the U.S. government needs to, quote, facilitate Abrego Garcia's return, but the court did not make clear exactly how that's supposed to happen and also did not set a deadline. Joining us right now is CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson on this one. This is interesting, Joey, because both the man's legal team and the Justice Department seem to be happy today. Let me read just the statements from both sides. DOJ saying, as the Supreme Court correctly recognized, it is the exclusive prerogative of the president to conduct foreign affairs, is coming from the Justice Department spokesperson, by directly noting the deference owed to the executive branch. This ruling once again illustrates that activist judges do not have the jurisdiction to seize control of the president's authority to conduct foreign policy. But then the man's attorney, in a portion of it, said, tonight the rule of law prevailed. Are they both right?
Not really, and here's why, Kate. Good morning to you. Now, this is what I would call political spin on the part of the administration, and here's why. The court is concerned because, yes, it is the prerogative of the executive, that is the president, to conduct foreign affairs. The court said that, and as a judge cannot tell the president what to do, and there were these words, right? Instead of effectuate the release, the district court can say you can facilitate the release, right? And so the reality is that at the end of the day, what the court is saying is that this was wrong and should not have happened. Take a step back for 1 second, Kate, and just think about this. No matter your stance on immigration or what have you, you have a person who is lawfully here based on a 2019 opinion that says, after an evidentiary hearing, right? That's where evidence and facts and everything is heard. And the judge says you can stay in the United States. Thereafter, 6 years later, having committed no crimes, having done nothing wrong, he is detained, arrested without a warrant, subsequently taken to a detained facility in Maryland. Then he's taken to Texas, then Louisiana, then sent to a supermax prison. And then the government says, oh, we made a mistake. And by the way, we can't get him back. He's out of our jurisdiction. How long before you do that to someone who is a United States citizen and then just say, you know what, he's no longer in our jurisdiction. There's nothing to see here. Too bad. Get yourself back if you can, because the government may not release you. And so ultimately, no matter how you parse this politically, I think this is a win for the rule of law. Yes, there's a separation of the branches of government that needs to be recognized, and district court judges cannot tell the president what to do. But at the same time, you have an administration that clearly exceeded the bounds of the law. They're being told so, and he absolutely, Garcia, needs to be returned forthwith.
So forthwith, of course. Thank you for adding the forthwith, always. The lower court judge has now ordered the Justice Department to provide the way it's being described as a sworn statement by 9:30 a.m. today from an individual with, quote unquote, with personal knowledge of the steps that the government has or is planning to take to secure his return. I mean, what are the options here?
So what happens is the administration has always taken the position that once he's out of our jurisdiction, it is Garcia, or really it could be applied to anyone, because these cases, it's not only about the individual, it's about the precedent it sets for others. And so the administration's position is he's in El Salvador, he's out of our control, he's out of our jurisdiction. We don't have the ability really to get him back. I just think that that's not an argument that carries the day. The United States as a world power can make a phone call and say, hey, you know what? Get him back here, put him on a plane. He needs to be returned. And so to suggest or to argue that he's not in the jurisdiction, you can't do anything about it, I think is a false premise. And so what the judge is doing is not, right, telling the president what to do or his administration, but simply facilitating and wanting to know the specific steps that are being taken to bring him back. And think about this, Kate. The actual lawyer for the Justice Department who argued this originally in front of the judge, judges have tough questions. And when you're in front of a judge, they want to know what you're doing, how this happened to begin with, right? Who allowed this to occur, what authority, and the attorney couldn't answer questions. So the attorney essentially said, look, I tried to find out and I don't know what the basis was. That attorney has been put on administrative leave for telling the truth. I mean, we're in a tough, difficult time, but ultimately, the government has to provide to the judge's satisfaction the appropriate steps that they're taking to comply with the rule of law. That is to get him home.
I'm very interested to see what the response is today to what the judge is asking for. It's great to see you, Joey, forthwith, as always. We'll see you soon.
Priscilla Alvarez has been tracking all these developments for us. She's joining us here in the Situation Room. Update our viewers. What are you learning?
So this is a pretty open-ended ruling from the Supreme Court, and there's so much more to come in this space. So as you mentioned, they said that the administration has to facilitate the return, but did not require the return. There was also no deadline that was put on this. But they also punted this back to the lower court where this all originated. But they made a really important emphasis in doing so by talking about deference to foreign affairs, the idea that the courts need to bear in mind the executive authority when it comes to foreign policy, as the administration has said publicly. Now, this is why it's a win for both ends. For the attorneys of Kilmar Abreu Garcia, this is the Supreme Court telling the government to facilitate the return. That's a win for them. But for the government, the deference to foreign affairs is a victory for them, at least a practical one. So there is more to come in this space. Today, for example, a hearing at 1 p.m. back at the lower court to get more details on how exactly this may unfold. We'll be watching that space to see what the Justice Department says. I'll also note that on Monday, the president of El Salvador will be visiting the White House. That is what's expected. So all of this is really coming to a head over the next 7 hours.
Because there's a relatively decent relationship between the Trump administration and the government in El Salvador. What I don't understand is why doesn't the president simply pick up the phone, tell the leader in El Salvador, we made a mistake, we need this Maryland man back in the United States?
Well, you can imagine that that is one of the questions that this federal judge, whose hearing I sat on last week, is probably going to ask, especially knowing that this meeting is coming up between the two of them. I will say, well, if it is more than a decent relationship, it is a very good one. The El Salvadoran president is a Trump-friendly president, and the administration has also given money to El Salvador for this effort. So certainly one of the questions that DOJ will have to answer.
We hope he's back in Maryland and back soon. All right, thanks very much, Priscilla, for that report.
Just interviewed his wife a few days ago,
we did,
right?
yeah.
And she was talking about the kids and how they keep asking, when is Dad going to be home?
Yeah.